It never hit my radar. And then, you know, you go down the wormhole of YouTube and whatever, right? So I see, that's not why I dissed him. The reason I dissed him is actually a lot more petty than that.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother.
So I knew I just wanted to be involved with it somehow, be able to do something with the music. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it.
If anyone is subject to a great deal of controversy and conspiracy theories, it would be the well-known rapper Diddy. With numerous accusations against him, he has spent the larger part of the year in the public eye. The one about Tupac Shakur's murder, however, has persisted and has been mentioned for a while. He is accused of being the one behind numerous accusations and the one who gave the order to execute them. People have been exposing Diddy over the last few months by coming out with material that implicates him. These folks include some of his fellow rappers and some of his previous bodyguards. Eminem is one such individual. Eminem recently revealed Diddy's identity and suggested that he was responsible for Tupac's death. People aren't sure if he meant it or not though, because he hinted at it in one of his older songs. However, this is a quite strong statement to make. We will thus examine Eminem's shocking testimony against Diddy in today's video, which completely altered the case surrounding Tupac's death. Now, without further ado, let us begin. Tupac Shakur's family has been longing for justice for 27 years. We're here to announce that Dwayne Keith Davis, also known as Keefy D60, has been taken into custody in connection with Tupac Shakur's murder. In the world of rap, Tupac's murder has remained one of the greatest mysteries for nearly 30 years. People have been attempting to identify the perpetrator of Tupac's murder for the entire period. This has prompted a number of theories on it, and the majority of them make sense when you listen to them. However, there are still a lot of disagreements over them. Nevertheless, despite all, this case has finally resulted in an arrest. You would think that when Keith D was charged with Tupac Shakur's murder, a legendary rapper, the case would be closed. But that wasn't the situation. This is mostly because people continue to believe that the real murderer of the music mogul is still at large. Everyone believes Diddy was responsible for Tupac's death. One particular notion that has gained traction is the one that he paid someone a substantial sum of money to remove Tupac. The allegation, however, doesn't end with Tupac. Some people also assert that he was responsible for the hits of other well-known figures, including Biggie Smalls. You could argue that none of these notions are more than rumors or theories. Conspiracy theories are not the only kind, though. The idea that Diddy was the one who fired Tupac has real evidence to support it. You can be certain that these sources are sufficiently credible because the majority of them are well-known figures in the field. Eminem is one of these well-known names. He has made the decision to come out against Diddy and is no longer going to remain silent. Tupac was the first rapper that I felt could really make you weep. You know, I didn't know my dad and things of my mom and everything else were going on. So he was just like, oh my God, that's me. Diddy has consistently been the main suspect since Tupac Shakur was killed. Fans were certain that he was the one responsible for everything, and all signs pointed to him. The case grew increasingly convoluted and complicated as the investigations continued. Still, no amount of convincing could alter the widespread belief that Diddy had a hand in Tupac's death. A theory has persisted through all of this. This is no longer a speculation, as a hitman has come out and admitted the whole thing. Diddy recruited a hitman to perform the hit on Tupac. Keith D was apprehended by the authorities a few months ago in connection with Tupac's murder. As anyone who have followed the most recent developments would know, Keith D has never shied away from discussing his role in the murder. He did, however, leave out a great deal of information. Nevertheless, he was still imprisoned for the shooting in spite of all. But there's one thing that most people are unaware of, which is the fact that Keith D has repeatedly stated that Diddy was responsible for Tupac's murder. However, given Keith D's admission that Diddy was responsible for the killings, why hasn't he been taken into custody yet? Keith D was one of the individuals hauled in for interrogation following Tupac's murder in the 1990s. However, he acknowledged at this time that Diddy had paid him a substantial sum of money to perform a hit song for the 25-year-old rapper. There is a lot more to the narrative than what first meets the eye when you listen to it. Investigating the matter further reveals that Keith D is not the only individual who believes Diddy was responsible for the entire murder. This has been verified by others, one of whom is an LAPD investigator. This detective insisted that Diddy was inextricably linked to Tupac's murder, despite the fact that he was assigned to investigate the death of another musician. Another theory surfaced during the course of these discussions. Biggie Smalls was another well-known rapper from the 1990s, and Diddy was responsible for his hit song. He may be better known to some of you as Notorious Big. Another case that went unresolved for a while was this one. Though Valletta Wallace, his mother, did exert some pressure, the LAPD chose to probe more. And the more they dug, the more they found that Diddy was the obvious suspect. This likewise applied to Tupac's murder. Diddy was exposed by Valletta, who asserted that he is not the person that the public believes him to be. She said that while Biggie believed he had a real buddy in Diddy, Diddy actually mistreated her son and took advantage of his abilities. The rapper died as a result of this closeness and trust. Tupac was likewise like this. September of 1996 saw the murder of Tupac. The rapper had not even planned to be in the city, but he chose to stay after being convinced to do so by his close buddy Mike Tyson. Tupac was supposed to hang out with Mike Tyson after watching Mike fight. But the scheme failed, making Tupac and Mike unable to hang out as scheduled. Draw the image for me. When you learned that Tupac had been shot, where were you? Days later. I was at home. I went to hang out with the baby and do baby things instead of meeting with him since I'm a sucker, and I recently had a baby. Even though Tupac's plans were already derailing, he made the decision to enjoy a good night out. Thus, he was enjoying some fresh air while leaning out of his automobile window that same evening. When the vehicle eventually came to a halt at a red light, a white Cadillac drew up beside the one he was in. Shortly after, the occupants of the white Cadillac started firing at the rapper, injuring Suge Knight and wounding Tupac. The rapper was in the automobile with Suge Knight. Tupac was left unconscious for 6 days due to his injuries before his body eventually gave out. In this manner, one of the most well-known rap artists in the world went by. Keith D and Valletta are not the only ones, though, who believe Diddy was responsible for the hit on Tupac. One of the best rappers of all time, Eminem, is another who is adamantly in favor of this. Relatives of the rapper claim that Eminem is also caving into the notion that Diddy ordered the hit on Tupac. He also thinks Diddy gave Keith D a sizable sum of money in exchange for Tupac's release. Furthermore, a number of speculations suggest that over $1 million was spent to retain D on the staff. Eminem, though, hasn't really said anything about it all this time. Later on, though, he began making suggestions that perhaps he knew more about the episode than was generally believed. Eminem released a song almost 3 years ago that implied Diddy bribed someone to perform the popular song on Tupac. Some admirers thought this was just him rapping and joking around. Others, though, gave it far more thought and searched for its narrative. Those that searched for the tale turned out to be correct. There was a backstory, which we may discover in its entirety. Some sources claim that Eminem may confess and provide the public with the evidence connecting Diddy to Tupac's death, and Diddy would be unable to avoid his fate if it came to pass. Should he be connected to Tupac's death, justice would be served, and Tupac's family would at last receive the justice they have so desperately sought. It is evident from the entire narrative and what people have been claiming that Diddy is responsible for the deaths of Tupac and other well-known figures. The police disagree, despite the fact that many of his supporters have spoken out about it all and claimed he was responsible. There are a lot of possible causes for this, but the most evident is that he makes people terrified. People are beginning to criticize him, though. One thing that unites us all at the moment is our curiosity over learning what Eminem knows about Diddy and his possible involvement in Tupac Shakur's murder. What, though, do you believe Eminem has against Diddy? Do you believe that Eminem will come back stronger than ever to expose Diddy? Have you seen that Diddy is furious with 50 Cent for releasing a documentary, The Surviving P. Diddy, which purports to expose Diddy? 50 Cent for releasing a documentary about P. Diddy that still exists in order to expose him. For further information, click the video. I appreciate you seeing.